Jeraci, and today I'm going to share with you a sequence to Dhanurasana or bow pose. So for this sequence, you'll need a bolster, 2 blocks, a strap, and a blanket. Right? Come on down onto your back to begin. So have the soles of your feet on the mat or straighten your legs along the mat like Shavasana. Take your arms down by your sides. And feel how the back surface of your body makes contact with the mat. The back of your head, shoulders and arms, the muscles of your back, hips, the soles of your feet, or the backs of your legs. Notice for a moment if you feel one side of your body weighing down into the floor more than the other side. And if that's the case, can you bring a little more of the sense of grounding to the side that feels lighter? Almost as if you were to lean toward that side. Does that help to create more presence? And separate the backs of your teeth to release your jaw. Soften your eyes as you settle them down into their sockets. And soften the space between your eyebrows. Now watch the sensation of your breath as it travels in and out of your body. Notice the natural movement of your breath and where you feel it. So do you feel the breath high up in the chest, underneath the collarbones? Perhaps lower, sort of the middle of your chest, and the movement in the abdomen, the diaphragm descending to allow the belly to expand. Perhaps you can feel more in the sides of your body with the expansion of the side ribs as you breathe in. And do you feel movement in your back body? Continue to observe your breath. And then steady your breath by taking a deep, slow, steady inhalation in through your nose, followed by a long, slow, steady breath out through your nose. Deep, slow, steady breath in, followed by a long, smooth, steady breath out. And repeat that for a few cycles. At any time, you can come back to the natural sensation of your breath. Continue to watch your breath, but dedicate a little bit of your awareness to your spine. So imagine the very tip of your tailbone and moving your awareness up from the tailbone to your sacrum, that triangular shaped bone between your hip bones. And move your awareness further up the spine into your low back, into the 5 thick vertebrae of your lumbar spine. Travel up the spine to your thoracic spine. So all of the vertebrae that are attached to your ribs. And then to your cervical spine, to the 7 vertebrae that eventually attach to your head. And so now place an imaginary dot at the tip of your tailbone and follow that dot up your spine until it reaches the base of your skull. The dot travels up from the tailbone to the sacrum, lumbar spine, thoracic spine, cervical spine, to the base of your skull. And then watch your traveling dot as it makes its way all the way back down to your tailbone. So there's this wave-like motion as you watch your dot. And you may see that your breath almost does this wave-like movement to follow the curves of your spine. And maintain the steadiness of your breath. You can release the imagery of the dot. Bend both of your knees, placing your feet about hip bone distance apart. On your inhalation, press your heels down into the floor, lift your hips, lift your arms up into a bridge pose. And then exhale, lower back down. Inhale, push down, lift up. And then exhale, release back down. Okay, so let these be natural without thinking too much. Hips lift up, and then hips and arms, they lower back down. One more. And this time, add the traveling dot. So think about the dot moving from the tailbone. So the tailbone lifts up, then the sacrum lifts up, your lower back lifts up, upper back lifts up, and lift your arms up as you feel as though the vertebrae of the neck, the cervical spine, are lifting up. And then from there, lower the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, the lumbar spine, the sacrum, the tailbone, and then the arms. And again, keep the arms down. Lead with your tailbone, so move your tailbone towards the backs of your knees. Then peeling the lower back away from the floor. Then moving into the middle and the upper back, the thoracic spine. And so it's not that the cervical spine are actually lifting away from the mat, but that there's this idea of them following, where you're not pushing them necessarily down into the floor. And then lift your arms up. Okay. And then slowly release cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, tail, then arms. And one more, just like that. Tailbone towards the backs of your knees. Lift the sacrum, lift your lower back. Roll on up. Thoracic spine. Lift the arms. Head stays down, so you're lifting your sternum up towards your chest. And then as you exhale, slowly release your imaginary dot all the way down to your tailbone. And release your arms. Okay. Roll over to one side. Push yourself on up. Grab your blanket. Okay. So fold your blanket in half, and if you don't have a blanket, then a towel, a shirt, anything that you can slide on. And place your blanket in front of your mat. It has to be on the floor, not on your mat. Then place both of your feet onto the floor. So your right foot will be on your blanket and the left foot will be next to your right foot, about hip bone distance apart on the floor. And from there, you'll make your way down. Okay? So this time, I'm going to keep my hands down on the floor with my palms facing down. So my chest will lift up through my arms. And press both feet down firmly into the floor. Lift your hips up, not as much as you did the last time around. And then exhale, lower your hips back down. Okay? So just an inch or two away from the floor. Push down, lift up. May feel different because the feet are one foot is higher than the other foot. Okay? Now take your hands, place your hands so that your thumbs touch your lower ribs and your pinky fingers touch the top of your hips. As you inhale, push down through the feet, lift up, and see if you can maintain that space so that the ribs actually don't come away from the hips, right? That piece stays together as you lift up. So lower back down, feel again, and really feel, touch yourself, okay? Push down, lift up, maintain the space. Then from there, slide your right foot out a little bit without the right side of the body turning or dipping. And then pull, push down, pull the heel back. And notice if you dip a little bit as you push. Push your heel down into the floor, slide the right leg out, try to keep that right hip elevated, lifted up as you pull back. Okay? And do that one more time. Bring the leg out, can be a little bit or a lot as you wish. Push the heel down as you slide the blanket back up. Okay? And then lower the hips back down to the floor. Slide your blanket underneath your left foot. Okay, and then again, keeping the feet about the same line, hip bone distance apart. Push your feet down, lift your hips up, maintain the space between the ribs and the hips. And slide the left foot out, a little bit or a lot. And press the heel down as you pull the leg back in. And do that again. Reach the leg out. And pull the leg back in. And so you may notice that there's some dipping or movement, and that's okay. Right? Observe it. And then maybe, right, instead of going all the way out, just do little ones so you can pinpoint exactly when I'm here, I can maintain. When I'm here, I maintain. Oh, but now I feel that side is dipping, and then really dips as I come down, and I pull my heel back and lift my hips up. So you start to notice that exact moment when something is going awry. Okay, and then exhale, lower back down. Okay, you can slide the blanket aside. Okay. Place both of your feet on the floor or mat, wherever they really are. Push down through your heels. On your inhalation, press your arms down. Press your arms down by your sides. Push your feet down. Inhale, lift your hips up. And then pause here, right? Let your chest pass through your upper arms. Push your heels down into the floor, and then isometrically pull your heels back towards your buttocks. So you're not actually moving your feet closer to your buttocks. Imagine you're sliding your blanket back. And then exhale, roll back down. And again, push the feet down. Start to draw the heels back so you'll feel the hamstrings and the calves, the backs of the legs prepare even without lifting the hips up. And lift your hips, lift your chest through your arms. Pull the heels back isometrically. And then exhale, lower yourself all the way back down. Good. Then from there, you'll move your bolster. Okay, and place your bolster on the left side of your body. Okay. Draw your right knee into your chest. Your left leg will straighten along the mat. And take your arms out to the sides to a T. And take your right leg over the left side of your body. Okay? And so if you need to shift a little bit, shift as you need, and place the whole lower limb onto the support. So if this is too low, you can take a block and or a blanket and place that underneath to make this higher. Now take your right hand to the top of your right thigh and press your right thigh in the direction of your left foot. So that as you press down, you're making space between the right hip and the right ribs. Then see if you can maintain that space between ribs and hip as you release the right arm back out to the right. And if you like, turn the head to the right. On your inhalation, return to center. Draw the right knee in and release the right leg forward. And take a moment, you can observe both legs if you feel a difference between the two. I certainly do. And grab your blanket or your bolster and bring the bolster over to the right side of your body. And you'll repeat that again. Bend your left knee into your chest this time. Okay, push forward through the right heel. And take your left leg, cross it over the right side of your body, rolling onto the outer edge of your right foot. Make any adjustments as you need. And then take your right hand to the top of your left hip and move your left hip toward your right foot. And then maintain the space between the left ribs and the left hip as you remove the hand. On your inhalation, return to center. Pull your left knee into your chest. And release your left foot down. And again, observe both legs. Bend both of your knees, roll to one side. Grab your blanket again. And open up your blanket one more time so that it's a bit longer. And you'll roll your blanket. And take your blanket right to the back of your mat. Okay. So pretty long. Okay. Take your hips and bring your hips all the way to the bolster. So your sacrum, right, is pressing against the bolster. And from there, lie back. So I align my spine with my blanket. I'll take my thumbs, place them underneath the blanket, lift the blanket up a little bit, and then release my head down so that the blanket fills in the curvature of my neck. I take my arms down by my sides. Okay, the legs can be bent, or you can straighten the legs. And come back to that imagery of the traveling dot. And so with the blanket, it might make that journey a little clearer. Also find tailbone, moving up to the sacrum, into the lumbar spine, thoracic spine, cervical spine, and skull. Then travel back down from your skull, curvature of your cervical spine, the curvature of the thoracic, curvature of the lumbar, to the curvature of your sacrum and tail. On your next breath, bend both of your knees. Place your feet on the floor. Roll to one side. Remove your blanket and come onto all fours for a tabletop position. Keep the roll of your blanket, we'll come back to that. So similar to what you did in your bridge pose, and the same traveling duck. Think of the tailbone lifting up and away from the backs of your knees. Then the front of your lumbar spine coming down towards the floor. The front of the thoracic spine moving down towards the floor. And lifting the front of your cervical spine away from the floor, then your head. And keep the upper body still as you find this small movement of the tail, moving the tail down towards the back of your knees. And the sacrum. And puffing the low back. And reaching the back of your thoracic spine up toward the ceiling. And the back of the cervical spine. And drop your head. We'll repeat that a few more times on your own. Tailbone lifts away from the backs of the knees. Okay. Your pelvis tilts over the heads of your thigh bones. You're in an anterior tilt of the pelvis. And you work extending your lumbar, thoracic, cervical. Okay. And then you work the opposite. You find posterior tilt of your pelvis, followed by lumbar flexion, thoracic flexion, cervical flexion. And so, many times this may be a one breath per movement type of movement, but instead, breathe as naturally as you can and take as many breaths as you need as you concentrate on developing all of these different parts. And if you feel like, okay, it can really extend through my lumbar spine, maybe pause before you get to the full extent of it. And you work either lower, right, the movement of the hips, or the movement of the thoracic spine, over the parts of the body that already fully move. And then bring yourself back to a long spine, moving your head away from your hips and your hips away from your head, so the torso appears a bit longer. Sit your hips halfway back, whatever half of your range of motion to child's pose is. Walk your hands over to the right about 45 degrees, and then slide your hips the rest of the way back. Drop the head. If the forehead doesn't come to the floor, grab a blanket or your block and stick that underneath your forehead. Breathe along the left side of your body. And inhale, come back up into your tabletop. Observe here for a moment. Can you feel the breath easily move through the left side of the body compared to the right? Is there a difference in the expansion and contraction of the left side body? And sit halfway back. Walk your hands over to the left 45 degrees. And pull the hips back, drop the head. Breathe along the right side of your body. And on an inhalation, return to center. And again, pause. Notice if there's any difference on the right side of your body, or if it feels a bit similar to the left. And walk your hands about 4 to 6 inches out in front of you. Tuck your toes under. And do a little bit of a cow-like movement. So lift the sits bones up, Look forward towards the front of your mat. Elevate your knees just a little bit away from the floor and then sit your hips back. Okay? Almost like a floating child's pose. And then from that floating child's pose, try to lift the upper arms away from the floor, like you're gonna lift your palms away from the floor. And slowly unfold the backs of your legs as you come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, or downward facing dog. And breathe laterally, feeling the side ribs moving out to the spine, to the sides, similar to what you felt in that lateral child's pose. On your inhalation, come forward into a plank pose. As you exhale, knees can be up or down, and lower yourself down to the floor for Chaturanga Dhanurasana. Slide your arms along your sides, placing your palms to face down. Point your toes. On an inhalation, lift your arms, legs, chest, and head away from the floor for Shalabhasana. On your exhalation, lower back down. Do that one more time. Inhale, rise up, Shalabhasana. And exhale, release back down. So this time as you come up, think about the traveling duck. Can you move your tail towards your heels? Is there some movement there? And then if you try to press your belly down into the floor, right, there's not much you can do. So then, see if there's a little length in your upper back. You get longer in your upper back as you reach your tail towards your heels. And elongate the neck. Try and move your head away from your heels. Press your pelvis down. Lift your legs, followed by your chest, then arms, then head. And you feel a difference in this Shalabhasana. As you exhale, lower your legs, lower your arms, chest and head. Place your hands by the sides of your shoulders. Again, press firmly down through your pointed feet. Pull your hands back along the mat asymmetrically. Pull the elbows slightly in. Then as you inhale, lift up into a low cobra, pressing your shoulder blades against the back. Or move into an upward facing dog, straightening the arms, lifting the thighs and knees away from the floor. As you exhale, tuck your toes under and lift up and back into downward facing dog, or Adho Mukha Svanasana. As you inhale, bend your knees, look forward, and exhale, step or walk your feet all the way up to your hands. Bring your hands to your hips. And then inhale, come all the way up to stand. Release your arms into Tadasana. Okay. Grab your blanket and your blocks. So you'll set your blocks up at the top of your mat and take the roll of your blanket right behind your blocks. Then from there, place the balls of the feet onto the blanket, your heels on the floor. Place your hands on your hips. As you inhale, lift the side ribs up. As you exhale, slowly start to fold forward. Reach your side ribs forward. You can bend your knees. And release your hands to the blocks. And from here, start to play a little bit. So you can shift forward. Try to keep your heels on the floor the entire time. So what's shifting forward are your hips. So more weight comes into the balls of the feet, but without the heels actually lifting away from the floor. And if there's room to straighten the legs, straighten the legs. Notice if that makes a difference. You might need to go up a little higher on the blocks. Okay, when you bend your knees, you might be able to go a little lower on the blocks. And then continue to rock back and forth. And playing with bending and pushing the balls of the feet into the blanket and straightening the legs as you push the balls of the feet into the blanket. Now shift a little side to side. And so you can think of these movements more like ripples in the water rather than waves in an ocean, okay? So you don't necessarily have to pick the feet up and really shift the hips side to side. Sometimes those bigger motions take away from what we're feeling internally. And then come back through center. Okay, bend your knees, slip this blanket out from underneath your feet. You place that aside. Put your hands back onto your blocks. Place your feet, or your hands rather, back onto your hips. And inhale, come all the way up to stand in Tadasana. As you come into Tadasana, think of pulling your tailbone forward and taking the thighs in the opposite direction. So the tailbone is moving forward as the tops of the thighs are moving back. And again, think of those smaller motions rather than, bigger motions. On your inhalation, lift your arms up overhead for Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hinge forward at your hips for Uttanasana. Place your hands on the blocks or the floor. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, step your right foot back. Okay. And then be in a place where your torso can be about parallel with the floor, so not too high up. Look at your left leg and create a 90-degree angle with your left leg, or close enough to, with your knee pointing right over your center toe. Then, like tabletop, can you elongate your head away from your hips? Push down through your left heel. Maybe you can feel this connection to your left buttock, and step your right foot forward. I'll do the other side. Bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, step your left foot back. Okay. And again, working, finding this 90-degree angle in the front leg. Move your hip and your head away from each other. So especially this right hip will have that tendency to curl up. So like we did in the twist, you maintain or create space between the right hip and the lower right ribs. Keep the left back of the knee broad. And press your right heel down. And notice when you press, you're bringing awareness to the pressing of the foot, since the foot's already on the floor. But when you bring the awareness of pushing the heel into the floor, you may feel the muscles of the buttocks start to engage. Those cells excite. Step your left foot forward. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Again, step your right foot back. Find your low lunge. Then from here, push the left heel down like you did before. This time, take your arms alongside your ears and reach forward. Elongate the torso. Keep the torso long as you continue to push down through the left heel and come upright. High lunge. As you exhale, reach the arms forward, 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 forward. Place the hands onto the blocks and step your right foot forward. Inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, step your left foot back. Reach back through the left heel. Keep the back of the left knee broad. Push through the right heel. Lift just your arms so your torso remains as still as possible. Elongate the spine. Lift up. High lunge. As you exhale, elongate the spine. So pulling my right hip back, maintaining the space between my ribs and my hips. Then place my hands on my blocks and step left foot forward. Okay, from here, place your hands on your hips. Inhale, come all the way up to So now you grab your blocks. Take one block right to the center, and feel free, if you have wall space, go to your wall. And you don't have to step on this block, but it can make for some interesting feedback. So I'll step my left foot onto the block. My left hand will go onto the wall if I'm using the wall, or you can have your left hand on your left hip. With your right leg, swing your right leg just a little bit back and forth. And again, ripples in the water rather than the waves of the ocean, okay? And so on this side, right, it's a little bit of flexion, moving through Tadasana, little bit of extension, okay? Now take your hands behind, hold onto the block, roll the shoulders back. From here, I'm going to take my right leg, reach my right leg back. Straighten at my knee, and I see, can I lift my right thigh from my right buttock without folding forward. And inhale, come back through center, release the block, release the foot. Other side. Step on the block with your right foot, stand tall. So again, right, when you have the hands here, right, so I'm not crunching, I'm not trying to come into a back bend, but I do want to keep relative neutrality as I swing my left leg. Okay? And so then I keep that, take the block behind the back, roll my shoulders back, see if I can lift my block up. And I'll take the left leg back into extension. Okay? And so it's hard, right? Sometimes this really wants to happen. So I condense the space. Sometimes it's easier if you exhale, so you take an inhale, and on your exhalation, take the left leg back. And inhale, stay still. Exhale, bring the leg back. Let's see if that helps at all. I'll lift the arms, and then release. Okay? So you can repeat that again, or we layer on. Stand on the block with your left foot. Okay. Lift up. Take the block behind the back. Okay. And then I start to take my right leg back on my exhalation. Okay. Now it's like the blanket slide. I'm going to pull my right heel toward the block. And so many of you, if you study with Cardio Worko, you've definitely seen this before. Can you take the block, right, and place the block between the heel, the back of the ankle, and the sits bone? And then taking the block, keep this space behind you. And then take the arms back, as if to reach the foot or the block, but don't touch. Take an inhale, then maybe can you arch a little bit more? Find that dot from your tailbone to the back of your skull. And then inhale, come back through center, find your block, release, and come over to the other side. Stand on your right leg, take the block behind you, take an inhale. As you exhale, left leg comes back into extension. Then bend your left knee. See if you can find that sweet spot where you can hold the block. And you could hold a blanket, you could hold a tennis ball, you could hold whatever you want back there. But it gives your body a little more feedback and connection, right? I'm connecting this, this connection between my heel and my buttock. So it's not so foreign, because without it, it might be, okay, well, I don't know where either one of them are in space. And the block helps to seal the connection between the two. Okay, so take an exhale. Pull my leg back, and my arms, as if I still had the block, And then a little bit more of the back bend. Thigh back. Feel my imaginary travels of the dot. And find the block as I come back and release. Okay? So now, take your blocks to the top of your mat. If you need padding for your knee, you can unroll your blanket. Place your blanket towards the middle-ish of your mat and stand in between your blocks. Okay? Inhale, raise your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold at your hips. Place your hands on your blocks. Bend your knees, look forward. Oftentimes you can come down a height because you're lower to the ground. Step your right foot back and lower your right knee to your padding. Untuck your right toes. And then from here, it's more like cat back, okay? So instead of being my hands here and then pulling my chest away, okay? I'm gonna do the opposite. So my hands come to my thigh and think about pulling my tailbone forward and lifting up here. So more like cat back. So I lift, walk my hands up my thigh, lift, walk my hands up, and puffing my lower back until I come upright. And now I feel a lot of sensation here. I feel very little to no sensation in my back. And then inhale, lift the arms overhead, stay here, or take a little side bend to the left. That'll create more sensation along the front of the right hip and thigh, even inner leg. And inhale, come back up through center. Exhale, release your hands to your block. Tuck your right toes under, lift the right knee. So notice that the hip is still moving towards extension, but it's not nearly as intense as when the knee was down and the torso upright. Step your right foot forward. Okay. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward, and step your left foot back. And lower your left knee down. Untuck the toes. Place your hands on the knee or the bottom of your thigh and cat back. Tailbone forward, puff your lower back, puff your middle back, puff your upper back as you're bringing the torso upright. Okay? And then you're here. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. Stay or exhale, little side bend to the right. Inhale, come upright. And then exhale, reach forward and down. Tuck your left toes under, lift your knee up. Pause there for a moment. And then step your left foot forward. Okay. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward. On your exhalation, step your right foot back, lower your right knee down. Same deal. Take your hands to the thigh, cat back, curl yourself up. Curl, 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 curl up. Okay. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, we'll side bend to the left. Inhale, back up. So you can repeat the side bend and the curling up, or shift forward, place your hands on your blocks. Bend your right knee actively. Okay, you can stay here or take your block between heel and sits bone. Pull the heel towards the sits bone. Come upright. Press your left heel down to drop your left hip and your left sits bone down towards the floor. Inhale, lift the arms up, keep pulling the block. Exhale, little baby side bend to the left as you pull the block towards the hips. Inhale, come back upright. Take the arm down, reach back, grab a hold of the block. Place your right foot onto the floor, and then lower both hands. Tuck the right toes, lift up, pause here for a moment. See if the sensation in the front of the right hip diminishes a bit. Then step the right foot forward. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, step your left foot back and lower your left knee to the blanket. As you inhale, hands to the thigh, cat back. And come up upright. He almost did it on cue. And inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, your right. Inhale back through center and repeat, or bring the hands down. Bend your left knee, and even here, you can work here, pulling your heel towards your buttocks. Otherwise, take the block, hold, okay, come upright, try to drop this hip down rather than being here. Inhale, lift the arms up, tailbone forward, side bend to the right, keep pulling the block in. Inhale, back up, pull the block in, lower the leg as you remove your block. Take your hands to your blocks, place the heels or the bottom edges of your palms onto the blocks, spread your fingers around the blocks, tuck your left toes under to lift the knee. Notice that the sensation in the front of the left thigh diminishes. And now step your right foot back. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Lift your hips away from your ribs, and not just the front ribs, right? So think of that space again. I'm not trying to lengthen the space between my front ribs, but the whole rib cage lifting away from the hips. And on your exhalation, lower back down. Okay, so now you're gonna grab your blanket, your bolster. Okay. And one block. Okay. And so you'll take your block horizontally at the lowest height to the top of your mat and make an incline or a ramp with your bolster. All bolsters are different, so it depends on your body, depends on your bolster. If this is too high, lift the height of the floor. You take a blanket, okay? You can even open it up. If, let's say, your bolster, this is a pretty firm bolster. If it were more pillowy, you would take the blanket perhaps, okay? And then that may make it firmer or taller or whatever you may need, okay? So, I'm gonna take my hip points and take my hip points to the bottom edge of the bolster. And so my pubic bone hangs off of the bolster. Then once I'm there, I'm going to tuck my toes under, lift my knees up, and I actively push back. So the bolster is sort of clipping onto the skin that it has, so that I feel a lengthening or a stretching sensation along the front of my hips, some of my abdomen, and my thighs. And then I'll lower my knees back down, followed by untucking my toes, okay, and resting here. Okay. Take your hands and place your hands out to the sides. Okay. The fingertips, the arms are rotated a little bit externally here, and the shoulder blades can clip onto the upper back. And I press my feet down, I press my hips down, press my fingertips down, and inhale, I lift my chest. And so it is quite possible that, right, my hands are keeping me up. They're helping me to lift this high. So then I want to test the water and say, okay, can you get lighter? Can I lift up? Take my arms back, pretend like I have my block, so I'm squeezing my block as I lift up. And then as I exhale, lower down. Okay, bring your cheek to one side of the bolster. If you surpass, you could take, right, the blanket rolled up and make it an addition to your bolster. And we'll do that one more time. So this time, hands, they come out to the sides. Okay, I'm going to take my triceps, the backs of my arms, and spin them down towards the floor a bit. So the bottom tips of my shoulder blades press up onto my upper back. And inhale, come up. Feet press down. come up a little bit more. And so you start to notice, right? I feel, right? Like I can go back a lot more here, but not so much here. So those are the places that I want to explore and investigate. And then lighter in the fingertips, lift up, press down through the feet and the legs, and then exhale, come on down. Support your head, bend your right knee, reach back, grab a hold of the foot, and draw the heel towards the buttocks. So it's much more passive than what we were doing with the block. And release the right foot, grab back, hold on to the left foot, draw the heel in. As you draw the heel in, press the left side of the pelvis down into the bolster. And then exhale, release the left foot. And from there, we're going to see, can I bend both knees, push my hips down, reach back, so I'm actively pulling my heels towards my buttocks as I pull my tailbone forward and bring my arms back. Then from there, I'm going to push my feet into my hands as I peel my chest away from the bolster. I'm not trying to actively lift my thighs up. Okay? It's more of shifting the balance of the weight from my torso back into my legs. And again, I feel that sensation across the skin at the front of my pelvis, abdomen, lower abdomen, inner legs. And exhale, lower back down. Okay? Place your forehead on your hands and take a few breaths there. So you can repeat this version again, or place your hands on the sides of the bolster, lift up. Okay? I'm going to move the bolster and the block aside, okay, and come onto your belly again. Place both of your hands underneath your forehead and think back. Can I pull my heels towards my buttocks as if I still had the block? And then lower the feet down. And now, can I take my arms back and reach my arms back as if I had the block between the palms of my hands and lift my upper arms up? And then release that. And then you'll add both. So you'll bend your knees, reach back, pull them in together. Maybe you find contact with both. Okay. And then holding onto the feet. Now it's the opposite. It's the breaking free part. You're going to push your feet away from your hands as you lift your chest up. Dhanurasana. On an exhalation, lower back down. And release your feet. Take your hands underneath your forehead and breathe there for a moment. Notice where your breath travels. And now add the image of the traveling dot. So feel, before the back bend, the dot moving from the tailbone, up the sacrum, lower back, middle to upper back, neck, head. And so join all of those pieces together. Pull the heels back towards the buttocks as if you had the block. Move your tailbone toward the floor so your pelvis is pushing towards the floor. Keep moving your tailbone towards your knees as you reach back to grab a hold of your feet. And then find the traveling sacrum, and the dot coming up the lower back, to the middle back, to the upper back, to the neck, and to the head. And then as you come down, feel the dot traveling down the neck, down the thoracic spine, down the lower spine, the lumbar, sacrum, tail. And then release. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Press yourself up through tabletop. Okay, and grab your blanket and your strap. Okay, so I'm going to fold my blanket into a square. So I take long edge to long edge, short edge to short edge. Okay, and find your strap. So you'll sit on your blanket. You can also sit on your bolster. Okay, I'm going to loop my left foot. So I place my loop around the heel and stretch my left foot forward. And I want to pull actively on the strap. The tail of your strap will go along the left side of your body. So I pull. Bend your right knee. Okay. So again, that blanket slide or pulling the heel towards the buttocks with the block, can you place the right foot onto the floor? So Jeraci legs. And I pull the strap, okay? You don't have to be too far back or too far forward, okay? Be in a place where you actively feel like you can pull. I'm gonna lift my chest up and rotate my chest to the right. Take my right hand behind. If you feel like you're leaning back, you can take a block, fingertips, or even I can use the edge of my blanket to push down and rotate. Now I'm going to slide my left hand back to pass the strap over to my right, hug my right leg in with my left hand, and now I'm going to press my left heel against the strap as I pull and rotate my torso. On an inhalation, unwind. Okay. Can pass the strap back to your left hand. Slide your right leg forward. It's easier. Take the right leg inside. And the left leg to the outside. And sit up in Dhanurasana. And again, your traveling dot. Feel it move from the tailbone to the base of your skull. And from the base of your skull back down to your tail. And bend your left knee. Okay. And push into the left foot as if you were standing on it. Okay. Hold onto the strap with your right hand. Push the heel against the strap as you pull. And that pulling action, you may feel a little reminiscent of the back bend, the shoulder blade integrating into the upper back. Take your left hand behind you. Inhale, lift the spine from tail to head, and exhale, rotate to the left. And I slide my hand down the strap as I take my left arm around the back, and I pass the strap off to my left hand. Use my right hand to draw my right leg in. I inhale, lift, exhale, rotate. And now I can feel this strong connection between my heel and my twist. So I actively push my right heel forward, and that helps to revolve the chest. And inhale, unwind, come back through center. You release the strap, left leg forward for Dhanurasana. And place the strap aside. And from there, come on down onto your back. You'll take your block and your bolster and create a similar setup to what you did with Shalabhasana and Dhanurasana with locust pose and bow pose. Bring both of your legs onto the bolster. Okay. Scoot your tailbone forward towards the bolster. Lie down. Find your strap again. Okay. Pull your right knee into your chest. Loop the heel of your foot. Okay. I'm going to bend my right leg in. Push my heel against the strap. Right, and the leg can straighten any amount. And take the strap over into your left hand. Okay. You're going to turn the left outer edge of the foot toward the bolster. Take your right hand to your right upper thigh. Press the right upper thigh towards the bolster as you take the right leg across the left side of your body. And you don't have to go all the way down to the floor. But again, you're maintaining that space again between the right hip and your lower right ribs. And inhale, come back to center. Bend your right knee into your chest. And slide your right leg forward on top of the bolster. Switch sides. Bend your left knee. Loop the heel. Pull the knee into your chest. And actively push the heel against the strap as you reach the leg up. Let your right leg be heavy against the bolster as you release any residual tension of the left leg. And hold on to the strap with your right hand. Take your left hand to the left upper thigh. Press the thigh forward without the heel coming forward. So you maintain the pull of the leg and the push the top of the thigh. Adjust the right leg, start to turn onto the outer edge as you take your right leg over the left side of the body a bit. And dial into the space between the left hip and the left lower ribs. Can you send your breath to that space? And inhale, bring your left leg back up through center. Bend your knees, you remove your strap, and send both legs onto the bolster. So we'll come into a variation of Shavasana here. Any props that you're not using, sort of push or move those aside. Let both of your legs rest on the bolster. If you feel that the legs fall off of the bolster, you could double up. You could do the same setup with 2 bolsters and 1 bolster for each leg. You can strap the legs to the bolster. And you can also move into the variation where the legs come to the outside of the bolster. And a little bit of the backs of the thighs are hooked onto the bolster, which can feel pretty supportive. And if none of these variations work for you, you're welcome to set up in any Shavasana that works for you. And again, feel how the back surface of your body reintegrates into your mat. Place your attention back onto the traveling dot. And watch your dot's journey from your tailbone to the base of your skull. Perhaps that journey is a bit longer or a bit smoother from when you first arrived. Observe the presence of your breath and the inner space that your breath takes up. Shavasana. Stay longer if you'd like. Otherwise, deepen your breath. Awaken your fingertips and your toes. On your inhalation, lift your arms overhead. Push forward through your feet and through your heels. As you exhale, lower your arms and soften your legs. Bend your knees so you can slide your feet down the bolster, or if the legs are on the floor, bend the knees towards the ceiling with the feet on the floor. Roll over to one side. Pause here for a moment to feel the back side of the body released from the floor. And on your inhalation, use your hands. Pick yourself up from the floor and come to sit in any comfortable seated position. And place your hands in front of your heart. Notice the space between your ribs and your hips. The awareness that you've cultivated traveling up and down your spine. And the inner space that you've created for your breath to expand and explore. Namaste.